Hello. Good morning. Dear, I think respected elder human brothers, sisters, and mostly the younger brothers and sisters. At this moment, of course, after I saw the news, Nelson Mandela passed away. Of course, I'm one of the admirer of that person. He truly, I think, genuine follower of Mahatma Gandhiji's sort of also the concept ahimsa. Ahimsa, 1,000-year-old India's tradition. So very sad. But at the same time, now meeting young people, I always very happy meeting with young people. And then, you see, that makes me something very fresh. Of course, I respect older people, but sometimes when I see the older people, then sometimes most of the task already done, that kind of feeling. You, just the beginning of your life. And actually, as a student, you are making preparation for a happy life. Then physically, now I'm now 78-year-old, quite old person. But mixing with young people, I myself also feel then really younger. So indeed, I'm very, very happy. So I was told, I can't remember, you see, you told me about 24 years ago, 24 years ago, you see, when they start this school, you mentioned, I came.
The 25th year is starting with you.
Oh, right, that's right. So indeed, I'm very, very happy, great honor. Now, firstly, I want to tell you, India is not only one of the very, very ancient sort of country, but today India is most populated democratic country. And since India become independent country, I think compare many other nations, India most stable. Although some drawbacks here and there, but basically truly democratic country, become most populated democratic country, and also you see with rule of law and a free press. I witnessed, of course, in 1955, I spent few months in this country. And after 59, April, then up to now over 54 years, I live in this country. Really, I noticed wonderful. So, you, a young Indian, you can make not only constructive contribution for your own country, your own nation, but because of your long history and population, about 1 billion population. So I think you have the potential or opportunity make a contribution, better world. And particularly, last now over 50 years, I have sort of serious discussion with scientists. More seriously, about 30 years. Then it seems quite clear about matter is concerned, material matter is concerned, modern science, highly developed, knowledge about very subtle level of particle, very great. However, about the inner world, usually I describe inner world. That means human consciousness, human emotions. That respect, modern science, just the beginning. Because now the medical scientists, they realize physical health very much related with healthy mind. Mental level, constant fear, constant anger, constant hatred, very bad for our physical health. So that's one factor. Then those brain specialists, now they begin to taking interest about emotion, consciousness. So last over more than 20 years, now number of scientists really showing eagerness to get more information from ancient Indian psychology. I usually describing, I'm the son of India. Reason, all my brain filled by Nalanda thought. And all my sort of knowledge and some experience actually come from Nalanda tradition. So that's the Indian thought. And our knowledge about emotion, about mind, these things all come from India. And then physically, I usually describe this body. Last 54 years, now nearly 55 years, this body survived by Indian rice, Indian dals, Indian chapati. So therefore, I consider myself as a son of India. And then, so all my knowledge come from you. I always describe when I meet Indian, traditionally you are our guru. Truly. Since 8th century, 9th century, Indian knowledge reached Tibet. Here, of course, Buddhism very much sort of involved training of mind. So in order to train your mind, you should have fuller knowledge about mind. Usually I call the map of mind or consciousness. Otherwise, you can't train. You can't transform your emotion. So therefore, Indian psychology, ancient Indian psychology, really great potential to fill this scientific field, something something lacking. So combination, Western modern science and ancient Indian science of mind, combine these two things, then modern science truly become complete form of science. Up to now, modern science only field of matter, particle, not mind. So you, as an Indian, I always telling my Indian friend, oh, now you can't move, I can move on shadow. You have to sit there. So you, so dear friend, now please pay more attention about your own 1,000-year-old knowledge about mind while you are studying modern education. When you talk about, science of mind, then automatically the fuller picture we'll get. Some of the emotions are very destructive for our not only peace of mind, but also health body, and also peaceful family, peaceful community. All these ultimately related here, not just the technology. One my friend, some very rich American, you see, they express plenty of money, but impossible to buy peace of mind. And also, I met some very, very rich people, materially very rich, every facility there. But when we talk, sit down and talk, then I notice the person, as a person, very unhappy person. So that clearly shows material value fail to bring inner peace. So everywhere people say peace. Sometimes I jokingly telling people, in order to bring peace, in order to promote peace, just release few pigeons. It's nonsense. Simply disturb those pigeons. First they catch, and then keep, and then one occasion you see release. So real peace related with our mind. Who creates violence? Weather? Or these trees? No. Or technology, even including nuclear weapon itself will not explode. We human beings use that. So ultimately, war created by human being. And meantime, every human being, say out of 7 billion human beings, everyone want peaceful life, do not want suffering, do not want problem. At the same time, human beings themselves create this unhappy event. Why? Ignorance, short-sightedness, and too much self-centered attitude. When we have too much self-centered attitude, then don't care about others' life. no hesitate to bully other, to cheating other. So, if you have respect, genuine sense of concern of others' well-being, then no basis to bully, to cheat, to tell lie, to exploit.
Yeah.
Because you really respect them. You really take care of their well-being. So, real sort of the factor develop peace is here. Not on matter, not on money, not on power. Not only that, but you see, not on our general knowledge, brilliant brain, not necessarily take for granted for peace. I think those people who really create a lot of trouble, a lot of suffering on humanity or global level or national level or community level, these troublemakers, not dull, very, very brilliant mind, isn't it? So education, mere education, no guarantee to bring inner peace and family peace, community peace, world peace. So ultimately, we must create inner peace. So now, in order to create inner peace, as I mentioned earlier, the self-centered attitude creates violence, these things. So therefore, the only way to create peace is compassionate heart. So these things, when we know more about human emotions and relations, these emotions and our physical health, then we can develop conviction. These destructive emotions are very bad for our own interest, for our own health, for our own happy family, happy community. So, in order to carry these things, knowledge about mind, about emotion is very essential. These scientists not showing interest about these things, they are showing interest not for next life, not for nirvana, but for healthy body, healthy society. So you don't look, this ancient philosophy is something religious thing and old-fashioned, and those people who have not much interest about religion, then these are no relevant. That's totally wrong. Of course, daily puja and some kind of prayer, those non-believer, no relevant. But healthy mind, peaceful mind is non-believer also, you see, very much relevant. Sometimes I telling people who really anti-religious, anti-religious minded, their movement can be more effective if they study more about human emotion, human mind. So therefore, you see, these are academic subjects. Something, you see, very much relevant, well-being of 7 billion humanity. And ecology also related. Too much greed. Don't care about next generation or next century. Just maximum exploitation about nature resources. So if you have some sort of moral principles, concern about humanity, about future generations, then even you see taking care about environment also, you see, increase or become more effective, like that. So therefore, the study about inner world is part of your tradition, which is very relevant to the 21st century. So don't forget ancient Indian knowledge, Indian culture, Indian sort of psychology. Then century-old, you have concept of ahimsa. This not only ancient sort of concept or tradition, but very relevant to today's world. I think every morning when we read newspaper, when we hear radio or television, there's some suffering due to violence, national level, community level, or family level, quite often. And now recent times, you see, one sort of major news in Delhi, gang rape. This also, you see, due to lack of self-discipline. Don't care about others' right, about others' pain. This also just puts more police force. Don't work. Difficult. All these unhealthy things, in order to tackle these unhealthy things, we must look inner world. So through education, through knowledge, then gradually conviction develop. With conviction about moral principle, then such person never do harm other. So all these things very much related with the mental attitude. Then, of course, obviously, I think corruption is, I usually describe the cancer of whole world, everywhere. Of course, some country less corruption. When I visit different countries, like some Latin America, when I ask audience, how big corruption? I ask them, small or big? Most cases, they show. And then also you see gap, rich and poor. Small, again, that way. Some country in Europe, when I ask, less corruption, less gap. So otherwise, I think whole world, you see, these are, now even China, socialist country, but huge gaps now. So this system may not bring what we want. I think individuals' self-discipline means carry some sort of discipline out of order. No. Self-discipline means, you see, knowing the long-term, short-term consequences, then in order to seek long-term interest and restrain certain desire which may bring short-term satisfaction. So that is the meaning of self-discipline. So self-discipline only comes out of awareness, long-term consequences. So these all, for example, now here, the practice of compassion is best way to fulfill your own interest. Firstly, practice of compassion brings healthy body. Sometimes I sort of teasing the young ladies young girls, you spend some money for your what's called cosmetics. Now here I think you too young. I think no one. This is something here, something here. So I usually tell people the outer beauty, external beauty, of course important. But ultimately, inner beauty is very, very sort of important. If, one sort of a young lady put a lot of things, but here, a lot of anger, a lot of jealousy, even you marry, I think after a few days, quarrels start. Inner beauty there, your marriage then can be long-lasting marriage. So therefore, the compassionate mental compassionate mind is really, I think, best way to fulfill your own self-interest. Here, extreme self-centered attitude. I often is now telling people, when I give talk, if I stress, I'm Dalai Lama, I'm something holy person, something special, that sort of mental attitude actually creates, mental level, I myself distance from you. And then, you see, more sort of anxiety. Every word must be something correct. So a little bit of anxiety. And that also brings hypocrisy. And that actually makes I myself lonely person, distance from the audience. And I create myself one prison. And I remain in the prison. So, and day and months, years go that way, more lonely feeling, more anxiety, hypocrisy. Sometimes religion, unless you seriously practice or sincerely practice, religion also sometimes you see teach us how to act hypocrisy, saying something nice things or doing something different. So therefore, too much sort of self-centered attitude really then creates creates suspicion, distrust. You yourself isolate and make distance from others. As a result, suspicion. Suspicion creates fear. Fear creates anger. Clear. Sense of concern of others' well-being. When I consider myself as one of you, same human being, mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. You also have destructive emotion. I also have destructive emotion. Sometimes my own destructive emotion creates some problem. Then deliberately try to reduce. So you also, so the same condition, same potential. So we are same. And particularly, as I mentioned earlier, I am student of ancient Indian knowledge, like that. So therefore, now that I want to tell you, sometimes I feel, or sometimes I jokingly say, telling my Indian friends, when I meet Indians, I always say, you are historically our guru. Then sometimes I, of course, to close friends, sometimes I half teaching, half truth. I mentioned ancient Indians were our guru, not modern Indians. Modern Indians now forget these sort of deep, real sort of precious sort of knowledge. You too much look about material value. I think most of students here, I think your main sort of concern is after I finish your school or college and university, then I want to join one of the big companies to work or somewhere they sort of higher salary, right? Like that, and big car, big house, isn't it? I think that, of course, we need material facility and sort of physical comfort. We need. Actually, in India, millions of people, I say they remain under poverty. Of course, now, last few days, I was passing through streets quite often. Oh, homeless people. Old, young children. This morning also, when I approaching here, I think now time come rest. So you, as an Indian, you need modern education. Millions of poor people there, so you must develop India's economy. So that further, we really need economic development. Then the economy, in order to bring real beneficial to poorer section of people, you need moral principle. Not just your expertise, but moral principle. As I mentioned earlier, it's a lot of money, I think, in a way, wasted through corruptions. So therefore, moral principle is very essential. So your knowledge, expertise with moral principle, then you can make significant contribution to India. Then India, as I mentioned earlier, 1,000-year-old sort of tradition of ahimsa, non-violence there. Because of that, religious harmony in this country take for granted, right? Almost take for granted. So therefore, world need the India's sort of tradition of religious harmony that truly world need. Look among Islam or Muslim, Shia, Sunni, some problem. Among Christian, Protestant and Catholics, some problem. Now recently, even Burma, Buddhist and Muslim, some problem. These are very sad. So, it is absolutely wrong to remain indifferent. So we must do something. These are not impossible thing. It is very possible. India, 1,000 years, you already have, you see, this practice, this concept of religious harmony. So India is living example. Different traditions, different religious traditions can live together. Some time back, I met one Romanian in Jodhpur. He told me he carries some investigation about religious harmony in this country. He visited one Muslim village in Jodhpur area. Village means at least few thousand population must be there. And he found in Muslim village 3 Hindu families. No fear. No fear. Completely peaceful, friendly. So he really surprised. He told me like that. So I think different reasons, some problem here and there, occasionally they happen. But basically, that's India. 1,000 years, different religious traditions live together. So this not only Indian treasure, but also now very relevant to today's world. So India can make significant contribution regarding promotion of religious harmony. So ahimsa, religious harmony, you see these things now ancient Indian tradition, but must promote because of the global level. Now, in order to promote global level, that means you exporting, exporting, so export, like Mahatma Gandhi's non-violent freedom struggle, exported to South Africa. So, like Nelson Mandela and Bishop Tutu, now these people, you see, eventually, happen because of Mahatma Gandhi's sort of concept of non-violence. And also Bishop Tutu fully involved reconciliation. All this, I think Mahatma Gandhi's Indian tradition is brought there. And then Martin Luther King, very much admire Mahatma Gandhiji. One time I met the Luther King's widow. Luther King I haven't sort of met. His wife. One time I met, and then that lady, she told me, Luther King so much attracted towards Mahatma Gandhiji. So, one occasion, you see, he wanted to dress Gandhiji's dress. So when I heard that, I felt, oh, it is rather strange. One American black religious leader and dressing like Mahatma Gandhiji, that looks very strange, isn't it? So these things, Mahatma Gandhi, his principle, brought in these area. And then one occasion, even Yasser Arafat and the Israeli then I think Prime Minister, I think, talking about non-violence. Then they both got the Nobel Peace Prize also, like that. So in the past, India, export these concept and practice. Then, of course, Buddhism from India, almost whole Asia, including China and Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Sri Lanka. These Buddhist countries, the Buddhism come from India. And then, some extent, Hinduism also is in different part of the world. So therefore, while in the past, India really export many things. Now in modern time also, now as I mentioned earlier, you must serve the wider way, global level, ahimsa, religious harmony, these two things. not necessarily spread Buddhism or Hinduism, but simply, you see, the ahimsa, religious harmony. So in order to export more, the produce within the country must increase. So all these good things export, and within the country, nothing left. Not good, isn't it? So who produce these things are you. Older people, I think, I usually used to describe the generation who belongs 20th century and the generation who belongs 21st century. Now we three, all three now belongs to 20th century. So people who belongs 20th century now ready to say bye-bye. So now, this 21st century, just the beginning. So you, student, age below 20, 15, these people are truly generation of the 21st century. Past is past. We cannot change past history. We cannot change. Future yet to come. We can change. So you, the generation of 21st century, just the beginning of this 21st century, you have opportunity to create better world. I usually call world, peaceful world, compassionate world. Ultimately, peace very much related, as I mentioned earlier. So therefore, we really need effort to promote inner peace through education. So you have a great opportunity. Firstly, create within the country, then go different countries. So that I would like to mention to you. And I usually used to say, 20th century, wonderful century, but that century become century of violence. Some historians say over 200 millions of people killed through violence. So that immense violence, immense suffering, if really brought better world, new shape of world, then some people may then justify immense violence, but that's not the case. Even beginning of this 21st century, some violence, including Syria, these things are symptom of past mistake or past negligence. I think in the past century, the technology, wonderful technology knowledge utilized for violence, including nuclear weapon. So eventually, violence, war is some kind of effective method to solve problem. That's totally wrong. Violence creates more violence, endless suffering. So therefore, if we use human intelligence properly, then any problem must solve through talk, through dialogue. Therefore, I usually describe 20th century becomes century of violence. Now 21st century should be century of dialogue. Whenever we face some sort of problem, through talk and with respect, their interest. 1,000-year-old concept war means one side victory, one side destroy or defeat. That's old thinking, old fashion. In ancient time, even each community more or less independent, not relying their livelihood, not relying on others. Now modern time, that situation completely changed. East sort of interest or economy interest or many things depend on the West. West interest very much related with East. Similarly, North need South, South need North. That's the today's world. Heavily interdependent. According to that reality, new reality, a constant war is unrealistic method. Kill more people there, destroy their economy, is ultimately suffer you. So that's now new reality. And then on top of that, the environment issue. No national boundary. Global economy, no national boundary. So that's the new reality. Now we must follow realistic method according new reality. So you young people who belongs to 21st century, now please think seriously while you carry study. At the concept of dialogue, this must become part of your mind, part of your life. And ahimsa, religious harmony, these not just a knowledge, should be part of your life. Then you can make effective contribution. Just a knowledge here, yes, write some beautiful article or talk beautiful words, but without implementation, then not much effect, isn't it? So like that. So that's my talk. Now few questions.
We got some questions
We had
written.
asked them,
Oh,
and I
okay.
asked the name of the child to speak.
Okay.
Is Ashta Sethi from 8C, which is stand up, please. Her question is, how has the exile from Tibet shaped you as a person?
I think human nature, when your life without much trouble, then you can pretend to be okay, like that. When I was in Lhasa, Dalai Lama, holy person, on throne, and everything more or less ceremony way. After become refugee, now no longer relevant of protocol, formality. Through that way, my life, my mental attitude then become much closer with reality. So I may sort of say, I am one simple Buddhist monk, quite realistic Buddhist monk. So I think when you take, because you have to take care by your parent, your life a little bit easier. And eventually, you see, you really join, you really start your real life, then you must be realistic. So sometimes you see difficulties is best teacher. Teach us reality. Things okay, then we can pretend. Things become difficult, we must accept the reality. Isn't it? Yes. And this is also good. If you read not properly, then I use it like that.
This is Shreyas Kadava from class 12C.
Oh.
It's a related question. There he is.
Oh, yes.
After being constantly praised or rewarded, people develop a certain expectation for the same.
Oh.
In such a situation, how can we deal with or react to someone criticizing us?
Again, as I mentioned earlier, too much self-centered attitude and not concerned about others. Then you see this problem have. If you not too much self-centered attitude and respect others. Respect others means you must respect others' freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of criticize. Clear. Then also you see when someone criticize you, think the point, really you see you made some mistake and criticize, then you must accept. And you must sort of feel gratitude. Your own mistake, you can't sort of realize. Then someone criticizes you, that actually teach you your wrongdoing. If the criticism baseless, then you should feel pity. How ignorance, how sort of negative emotion. Clear? So there is a point to feel sense of concern. Clear? You are, this criticism, not the baseless criticism. Then, you see, you have no regret, you have no need to any change, you carry that, and then you may feel the person, oh, so poor. He or she doesn't know the reality. If he or she deliberately criticizes you some other reasons, then you must prove their criticism is wrong through action. If the criticism respond by anger, by madness, I think they win. In spite of their criticism, you remain peaceful, you remain compassionate, then I think those people who criticize you then eventually feel embarrassed, like that. No, next question.
Will you hold for me also?
Oh, yes, of course. Otherwise, discrimination. For gentlemen, more respect. For lady. Okay.
No, I'll also hold your hand.
No.
No, I also will hold your hand.
No.
Okay, Soham Kakkar, 7C.
Oh, yes.
A very young boy, but a very deep question. What is the best cure for restlessness? It is possible to meditate even a little with a restless mind.
According to my experience, it's a simple meditation. It's something like painkiller. Problem still there. Your mind simply withdraw. So it's something like painkiller. Real effective, real long-lasting effective method is Buddhists call analytical meditation. Analyze. Then, as I mentioned earlier, too much sort of restlessness, very harmful. And then also the thing which you want to achieve sometimes feel difficult, sometimes fail. In such case, still you analyze whether you see that tragedy or the failure can overcome or not. If through analyze there is possibility to overcome, then no basis of restlessness. You see, no basis of too much worry. If the thing, no way to overcome, then no use too much worry. Clear? So then you should act like robot. Yes, things happen, quite bad, but okay, it happened. Now better to make yourself happy, relax. That I usually do. That also, as I mentioned earlier, you see, the too much self-centered, narrow-minded, really, it's the basis of these restlessness, because of restlessness, right? Like that. So you try to reduce your too much self-centered attitude and think holistic. Then your mind become more calm. Clear? That's my experience.
Karthik Vash, class 5A.
No, here. Yes.
Oh. How do you control your emotions? Don't you feel angry with the Chinese? He asks.
With Chinese, no. Firstly, I think we have to make sort of more precise. Chinese people, we always admire. Very, very cultured people and realistic people. I have one example. Many foreign countries, I notice many universities professor, Chinese, who after Deng sort of start new sort of openness with the outside world. And students come, then study, then eventually become professor, some of these universities. So these are hardworking and realistic. Wherever Chinese sort of community there, they usually create Chinatown. So sometimes I used to telling my Indian friend, why not you create Indian town? Hardly no. I think a big Indian sort of community in England, some cities in England, some cases a big Indian community, and some Indians sort of like Mandir or Kasa Chuguti, because Sikh Hagan Kasa, or Gurdwara. But you see, I never heard, you see, the India town. I think like Chinatown, the India town with sort of Indian sort of the Devanagari sort of letter or something. Why not? Then Indian Kazakh cuisine survey, cuisine or what color? Cuisines. And particularly, you see, Indian vegetarian cuisine is very delicious. I prefer Indian non-vegetarian, because Indian vegetarian food is much delicious than Chinese vegetarian food. The non-vegetarian, I think Indian food cannot match with Chinese sort of food. I think Chinese food much sort of delicious. So Chinese, hardworking, realistic, and long history. So we respect China. And 7th century, 8th century, 9th century, you see Tibetan emperors marry with Chinese princes. Very close sort of link there. So then Chinese officials. Among the officials, some are quite narrow and short-sighted. And I think, these hardliner, sometimes I was telling my Chinese sort of friend when I met, I spent with Chinese communists from 1951 to 59 March. So during those years, I also learned practice of hypocrisy. Saying nice things, oh, wonderful, fantastic, but in real feeling, something different. So only 1959 April, when I reached India, I liberated practice of hypocrisy. I really love India's freedom. Oh, very good. So therefore, you see, even those hardliner, you see, these also human being, they also have every right to be happier person. But these hardliners, they themselves full of suspicion, full of distrust, anger, hatred. So actually, they destroy their own peace of mind. They are such sort of narrow-minded, hardliner attitude is actually counterproductive about stability and unity. So their slogan, you see, build unity, harmony, stability, but their method totally wrong. I think 2 years ago, you see, one official sort of document during the Chinese People's Congress. One document, you see, mentioned the expenses of domestic security is bigger than defense budget. I think they're quite unique.
Very true.
Oh, sad. I often was telling my Chinese friend, look, India. East India, South India, West India, North India, not only different language, but also different script. The Tamil people, Tamil. You see, some of my friends, they say the Tamil language is much sort of, much advanced than Hindi.
Much more advanced.
Advanced, so.
Okay.
Like that kind of feeling. But no problem, no danger of separation. All remain happily in Indian Union. Kashmir, different sort of reasons. After sort of, I would say, the partitions, then something different sort of factor. Otherwise, it's very, very peaceful. So some of these Chinese hardliners, when they look Tibet, different language, different script, then they feel that source of danger of separation. So they try to try to suppress like that. So these all, you see, they are very narrow-minded and suspicion, too much distrust. The whole society, whole sort of system, closed society, no freedom of press, so too much censorship, too much distorted information. I think you may not heard, some of the Chinese officials describe me as a demon. So you see, when I first heard, some reporters, that was in Italy, one occasion. Some mayors and with me, you see, we said one line. Some media people we met. Then one media asked me, one Chinese official describe you as a demon. What your comment? Then I immediately mentioned, yes, I am demon with horn. With horn like that. So that picture, you see, appeared in newspaper like that. So this, you see, feel amused. Instead of sort of anger, I feel amused. Funny. Sometimes I describe, I may be demon, but demon, more compassionate demon. So okay. So like that, you see, I never felt this is some hatred or negative feeling. But anger, my staff member, if they do something wrong, then I quite often, you see, because of that, lose my temper and few harsh words. Then within few minutes, forget, no problem. Like that. Thank you.
The next question is from Sarah Varghese from Modern School, Vasant Vihar. What is the first thought that comes to your mind in the morning, and what is the last thought you go to sleep with?
Oh. I usually get up 3 in morning, everywhere. Time change, different time zone. They set is my watch. Then the previous day, local time, about 7:30, I feel sleep. Next morning, 3, I always wake up. So then, first my thought, remember Buddha Shakyamuni. And then, mainly, I remember Buddha's teaching of infinite altruism and concept of interdependency. That really, firstly, altruism, as I mentioned earlier, is very, very sort of useful in order to develop peace of mind, in order to counter all this destructive emotion. Then the concept of interdependency, that's really helpful to create more holistic view. One my friend, an American scientist, when I met him, his age 84, very experienced scientist about this, because of the treating the person who have some sort of, because of the mental crisis. Psychiatrist, now I can't pronounce that properly. Some English word I really cannot pronounce properly, right? Okay, so you see some problem with mind. You see, years, treated these people and sort of research. So he told me, once people develop anger, the object which we feel anger appears very negative. In reality, 90% of that negativeness is the angry person's own mental projection. He mentioned that. So these, Buddhist psychology, clearly mentioned all those destructive emotions, very much biased. So the counterforce, these biased emotion, the emotion which based on validity, or with reasons, that is the counterforce to sort of challenge those emotions which actually based on mental projection. So therefore, as soon as I wake up, I think, I reflect these two things, infinite altruism and the concept of interdependency. Then rest of my sort of day, now for example, now here, firstly, of course, I respect everybody's sort of, because of the right, everybody's sort of wish like that. Then also look, the concept of interdependency. So actually, the reality, the existence, very much due to other factor, not independently exist, but it appears independent existence. So there is huge gap, appearances and reality. That's Buddhists call shunyata. So the reality, we can't find independent existence, but appears as an independent existence. So keeping the concept of interdependency, then appears as an independent existence, but with the feeling, no, it does not exist as appears. Very helpful. So then, in morning, as a Buddhist monk, no dinner. So in morning, from early morning, I always feel hungry. So I always half using meditation, half looking breakfast. Like that. I think through training, through sort of understanding about reality, with help of these sort of Buddhist philosophical concept and teaching, I think now I feel, you see, my mental level, no matter what sort of serious or engagement, my mind always relax. So that's, I feel, the result of my practice, training of mind. So you all have the same sort of potential. And basically, it's the same culture, like that. So, thank you.
This is the last question.
So I since you see this questioner, lady, so you see, no differences, biological factor, right? Same. Even to the female, biologically more sensitive about others' pain. So I usually, you see, telling people when I give talk, in ancient time, I think several 100,000 years ago, perhaps 1 million. Then everybody, of course, very small population, so everybody work together, whatever they earn, share together. Then gradually population increase. Then also the farming system develop. Then some sort of the stronger concept of mind and there. Some mischievous sort of crimes or some mischievous actions to say happen. Then the concept of leadership come. So at that time, the qualification in order to become leadership, at that time, no rule of education, so only physical strength. So even animals, other animals, the male dominance then developed. Gradually, education developed. Education brings more equal, male and female. So here also, you see, although some critics also there, but you see, Indira Gandhiji, very, very effective leadership, female. And Golda Meir of Israel, female, very sort of kasota, effective leadership. So the modern education, you see, brought more equal. Now today, as I mentioned earlier, we really need more effort for promotion of human compassion. In that respect, female should take more active role, promotion of human compassion. So that's why a few years ago, I think maybe 10, 15 years ago, one time in Paris, one women's magazine, I can't remember the name, one sort of interview. Then that interviewer asked me, any possibility of future Dalai Lama can be female? I immediately responded, yes, of course, very possible. If the circumstance is such, female Dalai Lama, female religious leader, more sort of effective, more serviceable, then why not? In fact, Tibetan tradition, one of very high sort of reincarnation, the reincarnated sort of, institution, about now 700 years old, always female reincarnation. So female, the scientist examine, experiment, look one sort of picture or the motion picture movie. Someone, one person, you see, passing through painful experiences. Then one male, one female, watching that. Female response much stronger because of the biologically sensitivity about the other's pain, much more stronger. So therefore, the female, and biologically, you see, more sort of stay, because of the more potential, show they care. Now look, the hospitals, most nurses are female.
Yes.
Oh, I think, may not be the word a little bad. I think butcher, in this case, male. So like that, that's nature. So you, female, I think should take more self-confidence. Sometimes I found in this country a little bit sort of differences. Attitude towards male and female, isn't it?
It is.
Oh. These, I think now, time come, should change. And then also, you see, regard that, some sort of, some connection, the caste system, and then dowry, and then caste system. I think these you should not consider part of your culture. Yes, it's part of your culture, but outdated culture must change. So, young people, you see, must think some of the sort of cultural heritage actually outdated must change. Clear? Like that. That I want to share with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.